These changes will take place in Central Europe and the Soviet Union. We will have an independent Baltic states, an independent Russia, independent Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia. This independence will be built upon the truth of the gospel. We are still suffering. Gorbachev is threatening that he will not give freedom to these peoples. But this does not depend on Gorbachev. If Russia is to be respected by other nations, it will have to grant independence to these peoples. The Mother of God is calling us to peace. Peace will come through justice, and not because of the General Secretary of the Communist Party. The history of the appearances of the Blessed Mother go back many centuries. The church in the village of Hrushiv near Drohobych is one of many such shrines dedicated to the Mother of God in western Ukraine. During the wars of Bogdan Khmelnytsky with the Polish crown in the 1600s, the Virgin Mary appeared over the spot where the present chapel now stands. The people planted a willow tree to commemorate this event at the place of the apparition. At the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th, a spring of clear water appeared at the foot of the willow. People from the surrounding villages would come to take water for their various ailments, and its renown spread far beyond the borders of Galicia. In 1806, the villagers placed an icon of the Virgin Mary on the willow, an icon painted that same year by Stepan Chapovsky. They often gathered here for prayer, offering votive candles and celebrations in honor of the Virgin Mary. This was not to the liking of the current owners and the administrators of the property, and these decided to put a stop to the meetings. The owners bribed a scoundrel, an unbeliever, Justin Kina, to destroy the fence around the willow about 1840. He heaped this rubbish and the rotten fruit in the spring of 1840 around the willow and the spring, and the entire Kina family suddenly perished shortly thereafter. An epidemic of cholera spread throughout the village, killing many of the inhabitants from the surrounding area and of the village itself. A woman from the village had a dream in which she saw the Mother of God, who told her, "My daughter, the earth is waiting for you as well, but I want you to live. I beg you, clean the desecrated well, have the Mass celebrated to our Lord, and death in the village will cease." The people gathered in the village square. They took what implements they had and went to the well, and as had been promised, the cholera disappeared from the village when they had fulfilled their request. The people bought this well from the owners and built a chapel around the well. This was in 1856. The church was consecrated by the village priest, Father Klichavich, with 5 other priests, and dedicated to the Blessed Trinity, because the people had seen 3 candles burning over the well. 22 years later, the chapel was renovated and reconstructed. This new church, the one that is still standing to this day, was dedicated on June 2nd, 1878, by the parish priest Father Ivan Kostensky. An iconostasis was erected in 1883, and walls were painted with murals. The church was rededicated by Monsignor Ivan Wojtowicz on August 27, 1901, the feast of the Assumption or Dormition of the Blessed Virgin Mary, according to the Julian calendar. Bishop Konstantin Chekhovich issued a decree with the authorization of the Holy See, granting a plenary indulgence according to the customary norms of the Church. Why did the Blessed Mother appear here in Hrushiv? This place of grace was closed again and abandoned with the coming of the Russians in 1946. No one had access to it. A 12-year-old girl, Marina Kizyn, on her way to school saw a strange light over the church, and in that light she saw a figure of a woman with an infant in arms above the balcony of the Hrushiv church. The apparition did not disappear, and the child ran back to her mother, Miroslava, and told her what she had seen. The mother told the girl to be calm, to say a prayer, and to begin off again to school. The daughter insisted that the mother come and see for herself. This was easily done, for the church could be seen clearly from their garden. She looked in the direction which Marina was pointing, and the mother was astonished to see a woman with infant in her arms above the church balcony. she turned to her daughter and said, "Kneel and pray, it is she." After this, the devout woman went to her close friends to tell them what she had seen. The news shook the village full. By evening, the people from Drohobych knew. A day later, the entire region was talking about the apparition of the Mother of God. It was April 26, 1987, the anniversary of the nuclear tragedy of Chernobyl, to the day and the hour that the Mother of God appeared. She asked the child to enter the church. Marina answered, "I can't, the door is locked." Mary responded, "There's nothing locked for me." And it's to this abandoned church that Mary came. And often the devout pilgrims who came to the church would see the Mother of God through the keyhole, praying before the altar, interceding for the people, and the entire church illuminated. It was from this day that endless pilgrimages began from the outlying areas, from Ukraine, from the entire Soviet Union, notwithstanding the many attempts of the authorities to keep the people away. The Catholic services were celebrated in the open air before the church. In July of 1988, the authorities took over the church and established a Russian Orthodox priest in a Russian Orthodox parish. Yet notwithstanding all these attempts, the Mother of God continues to appear to the devout who seek divine assistance through her intercession. Josyp Terelya first learned of the apparitions on April 29, 1987. As it turned out, he wasn't able to go to Hrushiv immediately for several reasons. It was May 9, 1987, when he finally arrived in Hrushiv. Deep down, he believed the story of the people, that this was true. This mysterious apparition of the Mother on the anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster was for him a sign of the times foretold by the prophets. He couldn't sleep that night. Next day he went to see a priest friend, the provincial superior of the Basilian Fathers, and told him everything that he had heard. They talked at length, discussing the pros and cons of the incident, and finally concluded that they had to see for themselves. But going to Hrushiv might make it look that our church had some interest in this, especially as Josyp was under constant surveillance of the KGB following his release. They could use this visit for their propaganda against the Ukrainian Catholic Church. In the end, Josyp decided to go. He was convinced that the KGB would not dare arrest him after his release by decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR. He made his decision. A detachment of the underground Ukrainian National Liberation Front chose 10 young men who had completed their military service in the Russian army to accompany Josyp. And they arrived in the village of Hrushiv on May 9th. The Mother of God is continuing to appear in Hrushiv to the present day. She no longer appears to the masses as she had in the first months of her apparition in 1987. She appears to the innocent children almost always. And as devout pilgrims come to pray for their needs, people who come not out of curiosity, but seeking divine help through her prayers and assistance, she appears to them dressed in the garb of a nun or an elderly woman, but the people become aware of her presence only when she has disappeared. This is the personal witness of Josyp Terelya, and as in all such events, it is submitted to the ultimate judgment of the Church, which is alone competent to make a declaration of the authenticity of the events of heaven.